Your own popularity has grown since you took up the role as Taoiseach. I think you're the most popular leader of a party as of the last poll in the Sunday Independent. What do you attribute that to?
Well, again, I'm not a great believer in polls or anything like that, but I think, look, I think I've given it everything I have for the last 2.5 years. But by the way, this is only phase 1 of the government. I'm staying on, of course, for phase 2. Hopefully, if we get ratified by the Dáil, and my capacity is Taoiseach. And as far as I'm concerned, it's about the programme for government, not about personalities.
But still, nice to hear, isn't it?
It is, and I engage with people across the country on an ongoing basis. I do get positive feedback. We get obviously some negative as well, and people have a lot of issues. And have a lot of difficult issues in their households and in their families, and I want to acknowledge that too. So, you know, I think...
Yeah, because what's interesting, I suppose, when you talk about some people having difficulties in their household, is that you personally have a very good rating, and yet your party still does not. And when I looked back at the last 2.5 years and looked at sort of the big high-profile resignations and some of the scandals, particularly when it came at ministerial level, all of the resignations came from Fianna Fáil.
Well, the Fianna Fáil...
Barry, in fairness, just so people remember, it was Robert Troy, Barry, Cowen and Dara, Calleary. What does that say about your party?
Well, in fairness, I think Dara Calleary resigned in the situation, and I think many people found his actions honourable on that occasion. I think in relation to Barry, it was an issue about going before the House and the Dáil. But I think he is a very diligent parliamentarian as well, to be fair, and I don't think people question his bona fides in that respect. But I would make the point on the polling. I mean, the party has done, in terms of the home, it's important, the house-to-house polls as opposed to the internet polls has done far better. In fact, very often being second in the polls in the last 2 house-to-house polls, as opposed to the internet panel polling. And we think the internet panel polling completely underestimates the party. No, it's important.
But
point
but it's also just important to do because
if you don't mind me saying so, I think there's too casual an acceptance of the internet panel polling versus the more accurate and more comprehensive polling, which I think highlights the strength and the enduring strength of the party.
All right, but I suppose back to that idea that the resignations that we've seen at ministerial level have all come from Fianna Fáil, none from Fine Gael. Now, they've had their own scandals, but there's been no resignations, and none from the Greens.
I think the word scandal is a bit over the top in respect of the 2 ministers that had to resign in Fianna Fáil.
3 if you include Robert Troy.
Yeah, but I think the word scandal...
Okay.
I use there's a different narrative and description of it. But anyway, we're not going to argue about that. I think it was very unfortunate. And the minister's concerned, in terms of Dara Calleary, took action, which I think a lot of people accepted that he did in good faith and honourably. And I think that needs to be put on the record as well. And he was subsequently... you know, in terms of court cases.
I'm just wondering, because there were other, you don't call them scandals, and call them controversies.
Yeah.
I don't think the wording is that important, but within Fine Gael, and there weren't resignations. Do you run a tighter ship?
Well, no, I think, look, from my perspective, I think there were issues arose at that time, and in Dara's case, he took the decision to resign. Robert Troy took his own decision to resign. And in terms of Barry, he wanted to deal with this in a different way. I felt that he, at the time, he had to go before the Dáil. It was very unfortunate. Okay. It had nothing to do with his term in government. It had to do with a previous event when he was a TD. So I think we just need to put all that, to be fair to the individuals concerned, on the record.
Okay.
We did have a disagreement. I felt, you know, if you're a minister, you should go before the House.